Hello and welcome to Up the Turnpike, your source for New York Islanders content, both here on YouTube and over on Patreon. You can get us at patreon.com/uptheturnpike. In today's video, we're looking at the Islanders' woes in the third period and just kind of conceptualizing how bad it actually is. Now, if you've lived under a rock, maybe you're not aware of this, but the Islanders are horrendous in the third period. Let me just get some numbers at you so you can see what I'm talking about. In the first period, the Islanders have a +2 goal differential. They've scored 19 but allowed 17. In the second period, +9 goal differential. Ooh, scored 23, only allowed 14. But in the third, hold your nose, have scored 21, allowed 38 for a -17 goal differential in the third period. They've built up so many leads going into third periods, and then they absolutely crap the bed in that third period. Time and time and time again. So many points have been left on the board because these New York Islanders just can't either close out a win or figure out how to play in the third period. It's embarrassing. But it gets worse than this. It really does. You've seen the -17 goal differential I just showed you, but it gets worse than that. I've tabulated the numbers for how bad the New York Islanders are relative to other teams across the last 11 years of NHL hockey. I kept the COVID years in because I got lazy and I didn't want to take them out. Anyways, I went from 2012-13 up until 23-24 to see every team's third period goal differential throughout that season, to see how bad the Islanders are relative to those teams and what that means for them. If they even stand a chance at the playoffs? You might be laughing that I'm talking about the playoffs, but that is a reality for this team, or supposed to be a reality for this team. They're supposed to be challenging for a playoff spot. Well, that doesn't look like it's going to happen if you didn't think so already. At the moment, the Islanders are pacing out to a -56 goal differential in the third period, assuming they keep doing what they're doing now and Patrick Roy doesn't change anything. A -56 goal differential. The only teams who had a worse goal differential in the third period were the 2014 Arizona Coyotes, who were tanking hard for Connor McDavid. They had 56 points that year. Only the Buffalo Sabres were worse with 54 points. And then last year's San Jose Sharks, who were laughable. If you don't remember, I'll bring it up here. Just absolutely horrendous. The San Jose Sharks finished with 47 points. 47 points. Now, we're not supposed to be as bad as these teams. These teams, you can justify why their goal differential in the third periods were that bad. They were tanking. They were losing by design. By design, they were losing. So this makes sense with the makeup of those teams. But that's not the case for these New York Islanders. Again, they were supposed to be challenging for a playoff spot. And by that, I don't mean sitting in the top 3 spots, guaranteed lock, in the Metropolitan Division. It was probably a wild card spot and maybe in the top 3 if the Metropolitan Division was as weak as some, including myself, expected it to be. But that is not the case. I expected Washington to be worse than they actually are, so that's a surprise. Top 3 was then out of the question. But a wild card spot was. That's not necessarily the case anymore. Obviously, the Islanders are no longer in a playoff position at the time of recording anyways. If I just look at this season's wild card race, the Islanders are 3 points back of the last wild card position to the Philadelphia Flyers of all teams. So as at the time, writing playoffs isn't in the question, but why I bring that up is because when you look at these third period goal differentials, teams with goal differentials as bad as the Islanders, specifically in the third period, just don't make the goddamn playoffs. They don't. Look at all the ends here. And it goes on for a while. Just wait for it. The first team that comes up who's made the playoffs with a negative goal differential was the Dallas Stars, the 21-22 Dallas Stars at a -19 goal differential. That's the first one. And it doesn't really get too much better from there. Sure, you got the Red Wings in 13-14, still a pretty damn good team at -18. And then you've got the Florida Panthers -15. Remember, the Islanders are pacing out to -56 on the year. And then you start getting a few more clusters as you approach the -14, -13, heading into the -10s. Once the third period goal differential gets towards single digits, that's when playoff hockey becomes more reasonable. But of the first 100 teams with the worst goal differentials in third periods from 2013 to 14, only 8 have made the playoffs. 8% of teams who have the 100 worst goal differentials have made the playoffs that year. And the Islanders are pacing out to have the third worst third period goal differential in the entire NHL over the last 11 years. Awful. Playoffs are not a thing. Unless that changes, the playoffs are not happening. It's just not going to happen. And I know some of you have already made your peace with that, saying they're not making the playoffs. It's time to start the rebuild. That's totally okay. If you hold on to that opinion, that's totally fine. I do as well at this point. But if you're wanting to hold on hope, then your hope is that the Islanders can change what they do in the third period. Because if they don't, it's just not happening. And it's going to be an embarrassingly bad year. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It really, really helps us out. And until next time, go Islanders.